Hello, hello, beautiful people of Facebook. How is everyone doing today? I am here live with my wonderful husband and partner in crime, Jonathan.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
So what we are here to talk about today is this over-identification that we see with a lot of people, a lot of our clients, a lot of the people who come into our work. Also, I would say this is with women and men.
Women and men. I mean, this topic hit me hard. I was like, wow, this is, and I think Claudia, but we see it in our clients, but we had to first resolve this within ourselves as well. So
Yeah.
I have a lot to say about clients, but even our own journey around this. And if we had known this, how we could have accelerated a lot of joy in our lives.
Absolutely. So it's this over-identification with our single self, right? So for women, that's kind of like the independent woman archetype, or the woman who has been single for a while, like you could say chronically single. And I would say single maybe longer than you actually want to be single. So it's this, and again, there's nothing wrong with being single if that's what you want or that's what you want to do for a season. This isn't like to shame single people here, but it is to go into some of the things that we see around this over-identification with the single self. And this isn't necessarily something that's conscious, but it's one of the things that we see prevents people from getting into the kinds of relationships that they actually want to be in.
And with men, you could see it with, before I met Claudia, the bachelor type. I'm very focused on work for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I also think a lot of men just get, like the women, they just get settled. They want love, they want deep love, they've wanted it for years, but they've tried and it failed and they didn't know what. And so something happens where people really get enmeshed in themselves as being single.
Yeah.
And even just saying this, I can tell you why that can be fantastic, why that can also be just totally tragic as well.
Well, let's talk about what can be healthy or what can be good about being single. You're single for a season.
I had a fantastic single life in many ways until I met you. I got to explore. You get to meet your tastes. In fact, we make our women who want their husband yesterday, they still have to date. I don't want to call it rotational dating. That's stressful, but
The Cinderella season.
they have to go. You have to find your husband. You literally have to go through a Cinderella season. It's required. So you have to have the time of your life, the belle of the ball, going to 2 or 3 suitors. So it actually is absolutely necessary to. But if you're so locked in your single archetype, it can even block you from having that fantastic journey.
Right. So like the single, again, like what we were saying, being single isn't bad unto itself. It's just that when we get it locked in we get it locked in as an identity, that it becomes a problem, especially if it's not ultimately what we want to do. So I'm curious, why do you think, and let's talk about women first, because maybe because we work more with women.
Yeah.
Why do you think why is it that women get locked or entrenched in this single self-identity?
I honestly, ladies and gents, I don't know this as well. I think Claudia's she's been hunting this down since we talked about this topic. I just know it happens worse with age.
Oh yeah.
People in their 20s, we can help like really quick. 30s, 40s, but once you get to 50s, 60s, this archetype is so strong.
Yeah.
It's almost impenetrable. And even that's why our primary focus is 20s to end of 40s, because we can really help that.
Yeah.
The single archetype isn't totally entrenched. But honey, I've been dying to ask you this. What do you think? I know how to work with it, but why do you think it comes up?
I think there's 2 different reasons, honestly. I think one of them is cultural.
Yeah, I do too.
So I think we live in a culture right now, especially that for women, we have really glorified this independent woman archetype. Like it is kind of seen as the pinnacle of womanhood is being this, self-actualized, professional, successful woman who's just, living life on her own terms. And that can be fun, right, for a while. But what I've noticed when women hit about 30 or, definitely moving up into 35, 40, it's like we can really hit up against this wall within ourselves where it's like, it's our identity. It's what we know. It's like, I've just been living life on my own terms. I've been doing my own thing. I've just been this, like in this single season of my life, enjoying my life, pursuing work and career and being successful and all of these things and being independent. But after a certain point, it's sort of like, oh my gosh, we see these women having these, it's almost like a reckoning moment of what have I been doing all of these years? Why wasn't I taught this stuff? Why was I taught to prioritize all of these other things? Why wasn't I taught to prioritize family and union and marriage? And why was I taught to put all of my energy into doing all of these other things and being self-actualized and being this independent woman? Well, it's a really, really good question. Why are we being conditioned to do this? Why are we being taught to do this? I mean, we could go down the conspiracy rabbit hole. We don't usually go down that rabbit hole over here, but we just look at feminism. This is what has basically conditioned women, right? To want to be like men or to act like men and to be out there in the world, self-actualizing, being independent, being successful, when really, in our heart of hearts, many of us actually don't want that, or we feel like we should want that because of all of this cultural conditioning or this pressure that we feel to do that, even though maybe that's not really what we want in our true heart of hearts. So I think part of it is definitely cultural, is like, women are encouraged to do this, and this is the epitome of womanhood, right? And a modern, modernity. Unfortunately, I think there's also just a lot of emphasis in the culture right now on the self. It's all about me and what I want, and I think this is the biggest thing for women that I see. It's all about me and what I need, what I want, my desires, my goals, my ambitions, my plans, my this, that, and the other. And while we don't have to let go of that completely, in order to be in a relationship with another person, we do have to yield a little bit on some of that stuff. And maybe a man hasn't fully fit into our plans, especially a masculine man, right? Because a masculine man is not just going to necessarily want to be an accessory to your life and to your life plans. Like, he's actually, like, if you want to have a true union, there is this element of letting some of that die sometimes. So not to say that you have to like abandon yourself or sacrifice yourself at the altar of him, but there is an element of like, okay, I'm letting go of some of this egoic identity. And I think that really is what our culture teaches, is like, and entrenches women and men in as well, this to be very much in this kind of egoic identity of it's all about me versus us. I would say that's the biggest thing. And it's not just about women. This is men do this too. But I think this is the sort of one of the things that is unique about the time that we're living in.
It's so unique.
Is that it's all about me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of breeding this, I mean, I don't love using this term, but it's breeding sort of narcissistic tendency.
In narcissistic folks, they can find partners, but there's a humility. That's the weird thing about our work, is if you come in knowing everything and you're perfect and men aren't, which we often see with the single archetype. There's no room for a man. I'm perfect, I do everything. And often these women are also very hard on themselves. Just as much as they want the perfect man, they're so hard on themselves because they have to do it all themselves.
Oof. Yeah.
The thing that struck me the most about the whole conversation is when you started talking about the single women. They're successful. They do. It's like you describe the masculine role.
Yeah.
And you actually need that. I think you need a both and. We are not these like polarity police.
Yeah.
In fact, you need to kind of have some work and stability in this. But the man can do a lot of that for you.
Yeah.
Like I do a lot of the protection, support, even success stuff, so Claudia can chillax. And that's the fun thing about letting go of the single identity, is you end up being in this amazing sacred marriage template, which we did not know about, and things can go really well. I wanted to say something on the men's side, a little different.
Yeah.
Because this is my experience.
Okay.
I had two types of kind of influence. I had a bunch of Midwesterners telling me to get married in my early 20s.
Yeah.
Get married, it'll be and all of them seemed to have very hard, complicated, resentful, 20 years later love lives. And I was like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
And then the other model is just this ultra liberal, everyone's poly, everyone's psychedelic shamans, this or that. And there was no one there, like some Renaissance man, just saying to me, no, actually, marriage, sacred marriage, is the coolest thing on the planet.
Best thing ever.
Do it when you're ready. Learn the art of courtship so it doesn't fall apart like so many other marriages do. And it'll make your life so amazing. And we didn't know this. When we got married, we were like, about a year, and we're like, oh my God,
Why didn't we do this sooner?
Why didn't we do this? This was so cool. And the reason we didn't do it sooner is, I think, of all this societal conditioning.
We had a lot of this societal conditioning that we came in more from that. I definitely came in more from the independent woman archetype that I had been conditioned into, that I think many of us are, and you had probably been more just influenced in other ways that.
Yeah, I even just never thought about it.
You never thought about it,
and then Claudia made me think about it, and boy, I'm glad she did. Yeah, remember I was going to be a bachelor through my 40s.
Yeah.
What a bad idea.
That would have been fun. Yeah.
Fun.
So yeah, I think the culture teaches us to be sort of very self-focused.
Yeah.
Versus, focused on union, focused on coming together and creating something greater than the sum of our individual parts. And, I think there can be a place when we're going from a relationship that is toxic or codependent or really is not aligned with what it is that we ultimately feel called to, then it is really healthy to go through a single season. But the problem is, I think a lot of women get into that single season, and that single season turns into like a life sentence, right? And that's not what we want for you, especially if you do know that union is something that you are meant for in this lifetime. It's something that you desire. So I think the other reason, so I think there's
Number
two
two,
reasons.
yeah. First was culture.
Culture, and the second one is just, and of course these are connected, but I think a lot of it goes to imprints and wounding from our childhood.
Of course.
And from past relationships.
Yeah. Mom and dad, especially.
Mom and dad, and then just past relationships that we've had. So usually there's a seed of that somewhere with mom and dad. Dad wasn't available. Mom was overbearing. Mom was in her masculine, trying to run the whole family. Dad was checked out, whatever it was, right? Yeah. And so whatever your specific story or imprinting is, what we see over and over and over again is like we are taught as children, or we are taught early on in life, that being in relationship with another person is really not safe. And what we have to do in order to be able to survive, in order to actually be safe in this world, is to become hyper independent, right? Is to become quote unquote masculinized, right? Is like, nope, I don't need anyone else. I can only rely on myself. I should never ask a man for help. That's me being codependent. That's me being too needy. I should just be totally self-sufficient in all of the ways. I shouldn't ever need a man, because God forbid if I needed someone and they disappointed me or they couldn't show up in the way that I really needed them to, then that would crush me completely. That would literally feel like death to my primal brain, right? My nervous system. And so we can get stuck in these patterns because it's like, I want, like, we can feel that longing, that deep, 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 deep longing for union and for marriage and for a masculine counterpart. But then I can feel that longing, but then just sitting on top of that longing is this like other part of us that's like, hell no, that is not safe. That is not something that you can have. It is not something that you are worthy of having. It's like we'll tell ourselves all kinds of stories in order to protect ourselves from the possibility of getting hurt again, or the possibility of being disappointed, or the possibility of not getting our needs met. Like it can be it's a really tremendously, this is one of the things that I wish men knew, is like it's a tremendously vulnerable thing to be a woman who is like, it's scary. It can feel risky. It can feel edgy for a woman to like open her heart up to needing a man. Yeah. And yet there's something so exquisitely beautiful about that. And I feel like when we finally own that, like we really own that longing and we really own that need, it's like then we create space for a man to actually come in. So it's like we have to start feeling safe again to connect with that need and connect with that longing, and learning how to actually discern, right? So you don't want to just open yourself up to any old Joe Schmo off the street, but you do want to reconnect with that longing. You do want to reconnect with that deep, deep need within you for partnership, which is different than neediness. Partnership, marriage, union. Because if we don't do that, it's like there really is no space for a man. It's always just going to be about me fending for myself out in the world. It's always just going to be about me surviving out there in the wilderness as a woman, trying to make my way, you know, through this world, right? Or it's gonna be like more of the cultural imprint that we were sharing about just a moment ago. It's gonna be like, okay, what do I want? What do I need? What's my next move? It's all about me instead of us. And I think that's maybe the biggest quote unquote ego death that needs to happen for many single women who feel stuck in this single identity for, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. When we really get entrenched in that identity, is we have to let go of the part of us. We have to let this part of us literally die. This part of us that only knows how to be about me, and be available and open to having it be about us, having it be about you plus another person, which can feel scary. It can feel like death, right? It can feel like death to that part of ourselves that only knows how to be in relationship with ourselves, that only knows how to be in the world by ourselves, that only knows how to actually go through life on our own. It can feel like the single scariest thing that we ever do. And yet on the other side of that, the rewards are immense. I'm not just talking about you sacrificing this part of yourself and then like being this, domestic, like being in this sort of like indentured servitude, which is what I think the culture unfortunately portrays wifehood basically as.
There seems to be a bad attitude about wifedom with a lot of bad ideas out there, actually. Yeah. And I also see a lot of people glorifying the wife now too. It's like being reclaimed.
It's being reclaimed.
This does seem to be a reclamation project, where when I was growing up in the 80s, 90s, moms and wives were very valued people.
See, I feel like I never had that.
Yeah. But she grew up in I would say a more liberal, progressive. I grew up in more of traditional, middle America kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so you're going to get the don't ever get married. I'll get the get married too young and make stupid mistakes.
Right.
And that probably had me hold on to my single identity too long. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I don't want to make the mistakes of other people I know. But the thing is, when you actually open up and surrender over time, and admit this deep desire, weird things starts to happen. At least for me, I realize, I'll put my life on the line for Claudia. I mean, the idea is let's not do that because she needs me. I need to be there. You need
You're
me.
You're of no use to me when you're dead. Yeah.
Fact is, you need me, right?
I need you.
How good does it feel to need me and have me cover all these things you'll never
touch? It was such it took me so long to even be able to speak those words. I need you. It really did.
Yeah.
Because I had such a strong, single, stubborn, it's all about me, me against the world, fend for myself attitude.
Yeah.
Which I still bump up against in myself sometimes, and that's just, that's just life, right? But yeah, it took me a long time to really recover from that, or to let go of that, to let that part of myself die. But on the other side of that is bliss. It's marital bliss. So it's not like I sacrificed that and then I became some barefoot and pregnant woman in the kitchen. I feel, not that there's anything wrong with that, right? If that's your desire, but I feel so loved. I feel so safe. I feel so held. I feel so contained. I feel like there's so much more meaning. I think that's the word here. So much more meaning and richness and purpose in my life. Since embracing this wife identity, since really falling into becoming your wife versus always needing to be this woman out there on my own. I just feel I feel so cherished and safe and protected. And it's not just I'm out there in the world, in the wilderness, like searching for some, you know, some substance. It's like you're here. I know you're not going away. And it just feels, it feels like home. Like I feel like I came home.
Yeah.
Being a wife, like, let me feel like I came home. Yeah. Like it gave me a proper place in my life. And that was huge.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what we do. We call it love. We call it partnership. But it's creating families and getting the masculine and feminine template back in alignment with each other. Now, I had this instance where I was doing the mouse traps a few nights ago. And I thought about it, and it was kind of late. And I thought, Claudia will never do these mouse traps. And I loved that. Mm-hmm. There are so many things that she just doesn't have to do anymore. And I really want her to stay in her feminine essence as much as possible and not have to deal with the heavy lifting of things. Like, these things come quite naturally to me. And so it has been weird for being two people that generally will do everything ourselves, that we actually compartmentalize. Like, I don't cook so much anymore, you do. And I just love it. I love how we've created this, like, it's I always say it's like two continents coming together.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I feel like the genius of the marital template is something that it feels like there's just layers and layers and layers. It's like multidimensional. The so many different incredible gifts of the marriage template, like being married in a good marriage. It's like I keep discovering new dimensions of that, and like the intelligence contained within that design versus me being like it felt always very artificial for me, an independent woman, you know.
Yeah. It
felt like something that was not innate to me, that my system had been hijacked with this identity or this archetype that wasn't even intrinsic to who I am as a woman. It was something that I like took on from the external versus who like I am as a woman in my heart, you know, in my soul. And I think it's just, you know, goes back to what we were saying. It's so much of it's just conditioning.
Unpacking the conditioning. Yeah. One thing I wanted to share while we're doing this is how to start letting this go.
Yeah.
And one thing I do that I know is a little surprising, shocking to ladies is when they start dating, I have them start being the wife they already are. And they go on dates as this wife. Now, they don't go on devotional to the man that they're with. They're devotional to the role as wife that's in the man who's coming.
Yeah.
And so instead of going at it changes the polarity of it all.
Yeah.
Instead of reaching and grabbing and being single, you're kind of in your feminine essence, just enjoying the moment of like remembering you're way back into wifedom. So I literally have single women going out as if they're already wives, and boy, they master this pretty quick.
I love that so much. It's almost more like a surrender into this archetype or this identity versus us trying to go in as a single person, trying to eventually get to wifehood, right?
Bingo.
Yeah, it's so brilliant.
Yeah, I remember the day I discovered this. I was like, wow, this single archetype is just too tough. Let's flip it on its head, and then, you know, within weeks, everyone's having much better results. So that's how we do the courtship carriage and it has the faith, because now you're not holding desperately to this single archetype and I'm going to go out and solve this through hunting like a man.
Right.
It's like, no, I'm already a wife and they get to come find me.
Yeah, that feels so good in my body as you're saying that. It just feels really good. So yeah, well, the other thing I want to say too is that there are times in your relationship when you are in that union, right? When you're on the other side of that, when you're a wife or you're a husband, when you do actually having that sovereignty, I'm not going to say independence, but that sovereignty can be really, really beneficial as well. So I think one of the reasons why we have such an incredible marriage is because I am one of the gifts, or one of the things that I learned how to master when I was single, was how to take really, really good care of myself. was how to take care of my own needs, was how to self-resource, was how to go out and delight myself and take myself out, and take myself shopping or going out on, little adventures by myself. Because I am not always dependent on Jonathan for meeting every single need in every single moment. So I think there's a really beautiful balance between, like, when you're in an interdependent union, you don't just completely kill, you kill the independent part of yourself, but you don't kill off the sovereign part of yourself that is really the source of your feminine power and the source of your capacity to thrive in a relationship. So it's not just like I'm so dependent on him for everything and I need him to be reassuring me at all times, and I'm making him responsible for my happiness. That's not it at all. It's just that like I have a tremendous amount of sovereignty in this relationship, but there's also this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful synergistic, harmonious, this reciprocal, co-creative, dynamic dance that we're in at all times, which I think is really, really cool.
I love it.
It's like, I don't know a lot of other people who have a relationship like ours.
No, especially where we have our roles, but we're soulful.
Yeah, and we're relatively sovereign.
We're sovereign and yet interdependent, and there are definitely things I depend on Claudia and vice versa. But yeah,
I just love it.
I do too. What else do you want to say about this?
That's it. I think I'm finished.
You're finished. Okay. Well,
complete.
I want to say it is like two continents coming together, and you have so much energetic resources, and the masculine and feminine fit really well. I think I got this fairly early on to some degree because I had worked in teams.
Yeah.
If you've ever been part of a team, especially like successful teams, like I had state champion teams and stuff.
Yeah.
So I felt like I could bring these skills into this partnership. And it felt like it did take us a little bit of adjustments to really get into this like team. And honestly, I used to be on teams with men. And so I think some early friction we may have had was like, I'm expecting masculine team and to slip into this where I have this feminine grace over here, this feminine appreciation, abundance, reception, and yet I can go out and hunt. And it works well with our domestic life. It works well with our business. You see, Claudia's probably more of the muse speaking, and all the operations is me. And so by letting go of these single archetypes that we were very strong in, we have created a much bigger, stronger, more beautiful union that I think shines a light for others out there too, and starts to create a new legacy. By coming together in this way, you can make generational change.
Oh, and it's like you can create things. Like that's one of my favorite things about our relationship is we create things, we build things together. We're not just in a relationship and we kind of go about our days and you go to work and I go to work and it's like, no, we're actually creating things together. We're building a life together. Like there's a vision that we're working towards, and having the masculine and feminine component of that, it feels so much more powerful. It feels so much more rich. It feels so much more potent than just being an independent boss babe, alpha woman out there in the world trying to do it all on my own. And again, this is one of these things that I think is so tragic about the world that we live in, is that this single woman, this alpha woman, this independent boss babe, warrior woman archetype is like, this is glorified right now. This is like the pinnacle of achievement for women. You see it in the movies, right? You see it in the media, versus the woman who's actually relational. And I believe that we as women, we are relational beings. We thrive in relationships. We thrive in union. We are meant to be in union with our beloveds. We're not meant to do life on our own. Like we really are not for very long. For a season, I think it's fine, but it is such a healthy thing to yearn and to long for that union. And I think when we squelch that desire within ourselves, it has really, really, really dire consequences. And what we don't want you to get to the point where you're like in your 50s and your 60s and your 70s and you're like, man, I just kind of fell into this pattern of being single, and I never did anything about it. It's like it was just sort of became my default state after a while. Like maybe I had a breakup, maybe I had some relationships that didn't work out, and then I just ended up being single because I sort of fell into it. Even though that wasn't really what I wanted. That is not what we want for you. And that is really, really what we don't want for you. And that's why, as Jonathan said earlier in this video, we want to catch you hopefully a little bit earlier in your 20s and 30s and 40s when you haven't, not to say it's impossible after that. It's not impossible, but it's easier because you're less entrenched in your own stuff, right? You're less entrenched in your own self. There's actually space for another person, and you haven't kind of let the wounding of past relationships beat you down to the point where you just feel like that it's not even possible for you, or it's not safe, or it's you're not worthy of it, or whatever. So it's easier when you're a little bit younger. It's not impossible when you're older. It's just, we've noticed again and again.
50s, 60s, it gets hard. And also we really love to help people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, because a lot of them want kids. And so
that's right.
We can help families. And, I think should be... And I think that's what we really specialize in. If you have been chronically single for years, we can almost inevitably solve that problem.
Yeah.
If you're coachable, if you're willing to humble a little bit in following these paths. Now, if you've done a lot of these goddess groups and they have not solved this problem, it's usually because one of the things they're doing is they're holding on to this, I can handle it all, I can do this identity. And just doing what we teach is the art of courtship through our program called the King's Road. It takes about 3 months to totally change a love life. And then our clients generally find their man within 3 to 9 months. We have someone in there right now that believes she has found her man, just did, and that's very exciting. And we've helped dozens upon dozens of women solve this thing. If you want to find your king this year,
yes,
reach out now. Mm-hmm. And it's our greatest passion is helping these gorgeous, beautiful women that they didn't know how to do it. Mm-hmm. Often I see it, women will take it on, they'll think there's something wrong with them, there's wrong with men, and it's almost like skiing. You just didn't learn the way of courtship. And when you learn this way, it resolves so many problems, including how to have great, lasting love.
Yeah.
Our married people, it's amazing. I call it, with married people, it's the blowtorch of courtship, because it'll thaw things out often within a week or two. So it solves that finding the man and the lasting love issue as well.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot too around just letting these parts of you die, right? Like the single self, like the part of you that may be just chronically single, and it feels like you can't quite transcend this aspect of you. This is the work that we really want to do, is to really gently and lovingly let this part of you go, and so you can step into this beloved archetype, this wife archetype, this queen archetype, so you can really thrive in union for the rest of your life with the right man. So if you are interested in this program, we just opened it back up for we just completely actually redid it, and we have all new videos and all new trainings. So if you're interested, if you're ready to call in your husband within the next year and go on that journey, then go ahead and book a call at the link below, and we cannot wait to speak with you.
I want to say one last note. Yes, we have reopened it, and it's beautiful. We are launching the fall program.
Yep.
And Claudia and I were talking yesterday with the leaves coming down and everything, that fall is the most romantic time of year. So it is a great time to go through your Cinderella season. If you've done the polarity, the love coaching, it's all very confused in my opinion. Courtship is 3 simple, basics, nuanced steps to get your man and have it work for life. So if you're interested, go to Ecstatically Ever. What?
Just go to the link below.
Oh, go to the link below. But
yeah.
if you're on the podcast, go to ecstaticallyever.com, because we'll put these on the podcast.
Gotcha.
And you can book a call right there as well. Ladies,
Very well said.
We look forward to seeing you. You'll probably see me. I am the love doctor here, and we'll have the deepest call about love you've probably ever had. We'll get a lot of clarity, and hopefully we can help you out with that.
All right. Thanks so much, ladies, for tuning in. Ciao for now.